Hi everyone, and welcome to the Chat and Vibe series for the Vitality Festival, which is starting in about 10 days. It starts on October the 31st and runs for 9 days. It's a free virtual health and wellbeing festival for frontliners and anybody at this stage who's feeling like they need a little bit of support, connection, inspiration, motivation. We've got it all happening on the 9 days. And today we've got Maritza from Conscious Conversations here with us. How are you today?
Hi, Tanya. I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to get to know you a little bit better. Why don't you tell us first a little bit about your background and how you got to be where you are today?
Absolutely. Well, thank you firstly for having me. I'm thrilled to be part of what you're doing. I think it's a wonderful initiative. So thank you for having me. Now, a bit about me and my background. I've worked in media and communications and production for most of my career, and I found that after a good decade and a half of being involved in that industry that I really needed more depth to what it was giving me back, and started seeking only opportunities that were linked to deeper connection and areas that really fueled me in my life. And throughout that was born Conscious Conversations, with a group of like-minded people that have come together to build this company. The three of us, Aisling, Tamzeen and myself, met a few years ago, and we have very like-minded thoughts and goals in our lives when it comes to what we aim to, sort of the legacy that we aim to leave in our lives. And we realized that it needed to be in the form of this business called Conscious Conversations. So it's exciting where it's at now, and I'm thrilled to tell you more about it very soon.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about what happens when you're having a conscious conversation with someone. How do people sort of link into that, and how does it work in general?
Well, let's sort of start by talking about why we need it, I think, because I truly believe, and all of us at Conscious Conversations truly believe, that human connection, deep human connection, is what is the most important part of life. It's what life is really about. So, I mean, we can find ourselves, we say this always in this company, we can find ourselves in a room filled with people and feel so lonely and disconnected. Yet you can be in a room with one or two people and feel seen and be heard and feel so connected with that person. So what we aim to do is bridge that gap between those two feelings and allow people to meet others who think and act and feel in the same way as them, and find that circle of influence in their lives where they can truly connect at a deeper level and have conversations that they perhaps are not having with others in their lives. I feel like when you have a difficult conversation, when you have an open and raw conversation, I feel like, in my own experience and what I've seen throughout the course of this company that we've built, is that it's much easier to have these conversations with people that you don't know that well, and that don't have that history of who you are. And you can truly say what you feel, you can truly say what you think without the judgment that comes from perhaps knowing those people, or, you know, people in your family or people in your friendship groups who have known you your whole life. So we really allow that platform for people to come together in that way, not only to share what they're feeling, but also to learn and grow. And we really attract people who are looking for meaning in their lives, looking for purpose in their lives, people who are perhaps curious about what could be next and how to take that next step to a life filled with purpose. So it's an exciting space to be in, Tanya.
I love that. That sounds absolutely fantastic. Purpose is definitely up my alley. And I think that's a really big thing that a lot of people are finding in their lives at the moment with the COVID situation. You know, they're looking at themselves and asking themselves, what is my purpose? How is it that I'm contributing? But conversations, I mean, are these the conversations they're having with other people, or are they conversations they're having with themselves?
That's a really good question. We run our events in a series of different formats. So what we always say at the start of every event is that we're in a space, a safe space, in order for you to listen, but also in order for you to share where you feel comfortable. And whether it's an event where we're facilitating a panel of speakers and talking on a certain topic, such as breath work, which you spoke about last week, and the power of breath in our lives, or the type of events where it's all facilitated around sparking conversation. So it's our mission to spark 5 million genuine and meaningful conversations over the next 5 years. So we see that as people coming to these events and having 3 conversations each that they would not have ever had before, that is on a deeper level, that has shifted them in some way, and that really moves towards the legacy that we're planning to leave. So when it comes to the events that allow us to share more so, this is the type of event that we're bringing to the festival with you. And I think this event is so incredibly important to what's out there, because it allows people that real time to be heard and to voice what perhaps has been going on for them over the past 6 months to 12 months. We've all been living in a very uncertain and listen, we've never lived this before in our lives. Like it's been a massive time of change for all of us, and perhaps some of us don't have someone to talk to. So this particular event that we're holding with you for this festival is all around sharing and listening in a one-on-one format. And we've held these events before in person and virtually, and the beauty that we see that comes from the connections with the people that meet at these things is just incredible. We sit back and watch, and we're just absolutely in awe by what's going on, and the release of emotions and energy that is seen within these people having these beautiful conversations.
Mhm. One thing I do want to tell everyone who's listening to this, if you're thinking about coming to the Conscious Conversation session, just so you know, that session will not be recorded, because they're private conversations, which will be held in little meeting rooms off to the side. So it's not a situation where whatever you're talking about is going to be recorded, because that's really private conversations that are being facilitated here. So I just want people to know that right from the go-get. And one thing I just want to pick up on what you were saying, I think there's 2 really important parts to a conversation. And one is being able to express yourself, so having that connection so that you can express yourself, and the safety, like exactly what you were saying. I think what's really important is the listening. And for me, I know having a lot of conversations over the internet at the moment, it's really interesting because you don't have that personal connection. You have to really listen to someone, because you can't speak over the top, because you can't hear 2 people at the same time. Are you seeing that as well?
I'm doing that right now as you're saying it. You really have to wait for someone to finish before you butt in, because it just doesn't create that normal ebb and flow, does it?
Yeah, and then I think that's been really interesting, because a lot of people are so used to talking over someone else. And I think particularly in the area where you guys are at, where it's these deep and meaningful conversations, for a lot of us to learn not only to be able to express what we want to be able to express, but to be able to sit and hold space for somebody to actively converse and expose themselves potentially. I think that's a real gift that, for me, it's been a really valuable lesson to learn. I think that for other people it might be too.
I think too, there's listening and advice giving, and we need to be careful that we are not always advice giving. I know I'm guilty of that in the past. You feel like you want to be able to fix everything that this person is telling you, but the simple act of just being there to listen to it is helping them in that profound way, that more than you think. So I think we have to sort of, in our events, we do make that conscious decision to not give advice, but to just simply be there as a support and to listen to what's going on for the other person. And when you start asking questions, deeper questions, people are so forthcoming with opening up, because they haven't been asked these questions for so long, ever, perhaps. I mean, when you ask someone, when was the last time you cried, or what is the thing that you are most proud of, or what about yourself that isn't anything to do with your looks do you think is so important in the world. You know, there's these beautiful questions, and it makes people begin to think about who am I really? What do I want to give in the world? What legacy do I want to leave? You know, what's important to me? And
Mm,
if we're not sparking these conversations, people aren't
mm,
having them.
mm. And I think some of these conversations have been coming up for people because we've been so shut down, and and for other people not. They're feeling that sense of disease in their body, and they're uncomfortable. But they can't actually work it out. So it sounds like the conversations that you ladies give are really sort of allowing people to open and maybe discover themselves in a way that they would not have thought originally to do so.
And look, this all comes from our lived experience. All three of us have experienced some type of anxiety or, separation from others, or perhaps not fitting in as much as we'd hoped to, or just, trying to find our place in the world. So we've all had that lived experience, and we all have, found these avenues that have made us feel safer in life, made us create more meaning in our own personal lives. And that's why we're so passionate about sharing it.
Yeah, fantastic. It's really good. And one other thing I want to touch on what you were saying is that for a lot of us, when somebody's telling us a story, or we're with somebody at the moment, more telling us a story these days, is that when somebody's not in a great place, as the listener, then we want to offer them advice and to fix people straight away. And I think given the COVID situation, there are so many people who are feeling uncomfortable. And what is some advice that you would give to somebody in terms of holding space, just listening rather than having that need to fix the person in front of you?
I think go in and have a few questions ready. Um, just take the cues. I think explaining straight up that this is a safe space, there's absolutely no judgment. It's safe for you to share, safe for you to be heard, without anyone going to be criticizing you or suggesting anything other than what you're talking about. It's just an option where they can literally spill out what they're feeling. And I think something key was discussed in a couple of interviews that I've done previously, is that when we share a little bit about ourselves, it gives people that safety net to be able to feel free enough and safe enough to be able to share back. So we can't expect others to divulge all of their own personal feelings and emotions if we're not doing the same. So when there's a give and take and there's a mutual exchange of energy in a conversation, that really allows people to open up on a deeper level.
Wow, excellent. I love that. And tell us, you've got an interesting event which is starting in November soon, your Low Tox Living event. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. We've just hit launch on this pretty much 5 minutes before you and I came online. It's called Low Tox Living, and it's a two-part event series, actually, one being held on Tuesday, the 17th of November, and then the follow-up, which is a practical tools type of event, held on the 19th of November. We've got some incredible speakers on board. We've got Zara Del Cotta from The Healthy Home, James Bartle from Outland Denim, we've got Cindy O'Meara from Changing Habits, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. And then for the second event, which is practical tips for low tox living, we've got Alex Stewart from Low Tox Life and Irene Falcone from Nourish Life. So these are all incredibly well-versed, educated, experienced people on this topic. And there's so many chemicals in our everyday life that none of us are aware of, or we believe we're doing the right thing to have a healthy well-being, but there's so many hidden little nasties that are in our lifestyle that we want to really show people how they can weed out and live a life internally and externally happy and healthy.
Love it. You guys are doing a sensational job, and I can't recommend Conscious Conversations enough. So come along to their session and get involved, connecting with people, having some really interesting discussions. I think you'll really, really love it. So thank you, Maritza, for being involved. Can't wait to have you at the Vitality Festival, which I said starts on October the 31st. If you haven't registered already, please just click on the link below and you can sign up. I've also included down there one of Maritza, email as well, so you can click on and find out more about what they're doing and their upcoming event in November. So thank you so much for your time. I can't wait for your event, the festival.
Thanks so much, Tanya, for having me.